Welcome to Palace Insider, where secrets spill faster than morning coffee. Picture this. It's a calm California sunrise. The sky's barely awake, sunlight slipping through golden clouds, and the coffee on the counter is still warm. Inside that stunning $14 million Montecito mansion, Meghan Markle's phone suddenly goes wild.
In the hope that somebody will come along and say, there's money in this, let's support Meghan and her as ever brand.
Notifications flash nonstop, lighting up the screen like fireworks exploding across the room. One call comes in, then another, and another. Within seconds, everything starts spinning out of control because Tom Bower just dropped a shocking revelation that no one saw coming.
But I thought that was just such a disgrace. I thought she behaved so badly, and Harry too.
People can't stop talking, and the chatter's spreading everywhere like wildfire. What he's exposing this time isn't your average gossip. It's the kind of bombshell that sends crisis teams into full panic mode. Meghan's reportedly laying low, hidden away behind those tall mansion gates, avoiding all the noise outside. This isn't just another royal headline. It's a full-blown storm shaking things up right now. The tension is real, and the timing couldn't be worse. But before we dive into the chaos and uncover why these new details have Meghan on edge, make sure you're subscribed. Hit that like button and turn on those notifications because this story's spinning fast, and trust me, you don't want to miss what's coming next. Now, let's break it down. Here's the truth about Tom Bower. This man isn't some random voice chasing clout online. He's a seasoned journalist with decades of experience digging into powerful figures across the globe.
And she targeted, there's no doubt she targeted Harry and found someone who was a childhood friend of his who could introduce.
We're talking about business giants, major public personalities, and people with influence so deep it literally reshapes industries. Yes, that absolutely includes the royal family. Bower built his name on saying what others are too scared to whisper. When he locks onto someone, it's never light or safe. It's intense. And when he writes about you, that's usually when the real trouble starts. He's not the type to smooth things over or protect anyone's image. Tom Bower digs deep, pushes hard, and doesn't stop until the truth bursts into the open. His last book, Revenge, Meghan, Harry, and the war between the Windsors flipped everything upside down. The reaction was instant. Shockwaves hit the royal circle fast, and insiders were reportedly left speechless.
Harry must be nuts. This is one of the text messages his friends were sending around to each other after Meghan's first introduction to Harry's friends in 2017 during a shooting weekend at Sandringham.
Headlines exploded across every major outlet, and conversations caught fire in both the media and private circles. The claims inside that book were so bold that people are still talking about them to this day. It wasn't just gossip. It was an earthquake that cracked the perfect royal image wide open. Most thought that was the peak, that Bower had already said everything there was to say. But guess what? He's not done. Not even close. This time, he's gone even deeper. And that alone says a lot considering how much his last bombshell already stirred things up. Now, Bower's turning his lens toward a part of Meghan's past she probably hoped would stay buried. Her early Hollywood hustle. Not the red carpet glamour or the picture-perfect moments, but the real grind, auditions, rejection, and the endless chase to land a role in an industry known for chewing people up. Hollywood doesn't play fair. Talent helps, but timing, connections, and powerful allies can make or break your shot.
Meghan's podcast has fallen off the charts. She's been criticized for the content. There are rumors that her As Ever launch wasn't as successful as she considered it. Critically, With Love Meghan was not a success.
According to what Tom Bower's uncovered, Meghan's rise to fame might not have been as smooth or natural as everyone once believed. There are now claims floating around that some powerful Hollywood doors may have swung open for her, suddenly and without much explanation. Opportunities seem to appear out of nowhere, and those details are making people in the entertainment world raise their brows fast. The version of Meghan's story being whispered about now sounds very different from the polished one the public's been hearing for years. And here's where it starts to get wild. Rumors are swirling about certain connections Meghan might have leaned on while climbing the ladder to success.
It was happening over the long term. And it's not healthy to have these stories of rivalry, and to split the foundation was absolutely unnecessary.
These whispers are the kind that make people question everything. Was her rise truly about raw talent, Or was it about who she knew behind the scenes? And it doesn't end there. Bauer's sources are allegedly spilling stories about the people Meghan supposedly left behind on her way up. Not literally stepping on anyone, of course, but it paints a sharp picture. Old friends forgotten, colleagues suddenly irrelevant, and folks who once helped her quietly disappearing from her circle once she moved up. That's the image Bauer's painting. Someone laser-focused on success, no matter the cost. And according to him, that journey from struggling actress to global icon might not be the clean fairy tale version the public's been fed all this time. Now, things are about to get even messier for Meghan, because Tom Bauer didn't just peek into her Hollywood past and call it a day. Oh no, he went way deeper than anyone expected. His latest claim suggests Meghan didn't just climb the ladder, she allegedly rewrote parts of her own story to make it all fit perfectly. Everything supposedly changed the moment Prince Harry entered her world. I mean, meeting an actual prince? That's the kind of twist that flips anyone's life upside down. And according to Bauer, that's when Meghan started reshaping her backstory, adjusting details, polishing certain chapters, and creating a version of herself that matched her new royal reality.
You can't trust Meghan and Harry. That's the point. Even if you think you've got a deal, and that I don't believe that is possible, but if you think you have, the palace will be shocked that they will renege immediately because they have no advantage of reconciliation. They've got no advantage of ending their vendetta.
It's like watching someone build a personal brand from scratch, the modern princess, with a flawless, inspiring journey that seemed too perfect to question. One section of Bauer's reporting even claims she reworked entire chunks of her past just to align with that image. And we're not talking about tiny tweaks here. These were big, defining moments, the kind that shape who someone really is. These alleged revelations have people seriously rethinking everything they thought they knew about Meghan. But here's where it hits hard. When Meghan reportedly realized how much information Bauer had uncovered, things got intense fast.
Who she could, so I sent off dozens and dozens of emails to her friends, and most of them didn't even reply.
Insiders say she completely broke down, full-on meltdown mode. And this wasn't gossip pulled from old interviews or public records. This went way deeper than that. This wasn't some random gossip pulled off the internet. This was personal, intimate stuff that could have only come from people who actually knew her. People who were once close, maybe even trusted friends. And that's when the real panic set in. Meghan reportedly realized that someone from her own circle must have talked to Tom Bauer, and that thought alone sent her into full alert. For someone whose entire reputation depends on keeping a tight grip over every single detail of her public image, that's pure nightmare fuel. Sources say Meghan struggles the moment she loses control. She wants to know exactly what's being said, when it's being said, and how it's being spun. That's been her style for years. Always calculated, always in charge. But this time, she had zero say in how the story unfolded, and she knew it. Word is, Meghan even had her team quietly digging to figure out who was feeding Bauer all that information. She reportedly needed to find out which old friends or former contacts might have turned on her. That's how heated things got. These weren't just loose rumors Bauer was throwing out. These were details so specific, only someone deep inside her inner circle could have spilled them. The secrets Tom Bauer uncovered cut straight through Meghan's carefully polished PR armor, like a blade slicing through glass. She spent years shaping every single part of her story. Her struggles, her rise, her journey to fame, all perfectly packaged to fit her narrative. But now, all of that was suddenly being questioned, and not by some random online critics, but by a journalist with receipts. A man who did the digging and came back with proof. Just imagine that feeling. You've spent years controlling your image. Every interview scripted, every appearance planned, every Instagram post crafted to perfection. And then someone steps in and starts peeling back the layers, showing the world that maybe, just maybe, things weren't exactly how you said they were. That perfectly polished image Meghan worked so hard to protect, it started to crack.
Just ludicrous. It's all about her. And this extraordinary interview with Serena Williams, where the first 11 minutes is all about her, and not about this phenomenal tennis
Serena
champion.
Williams.
I mean, so that's why it doesn't work.
Yeah.
And who'd want to put herself or himself, as always, women. I mean, she does have this strange distrust, I think.
And once those cracks show, everyone sees them. There's no going back after that. And while Meghan's dealing with the chaos of this bombshell, let's shift the lens to Harry for a moment, because he's not exactly calm through all this either. Ever since whispers of Bower's new revelations started floating around, Harry's been in full-on panic mode. You can practically sense it. Their California dream, the fresh start they once bragged about, suddenly looks shaky. Now, with this book hitting the shelves, it's like watching everything they've built start to come undone right in front of the world. The fairy tale glow is fading fast, and the tension inside that Montecito mansion must be through the roof. Let's be honest, their time in the US hasn't exactly been smooth sailing. Far from it. Remember that massive Netflix deal everyone was hyped about? Yeah, well, turns out it didn't go quite as planned. Projects got quietly shelved, some content flopped, and word is the streaming giant wasn't thrilled with how things played out. And then came Spotify, another headline-grabbing partnership that completely collapsed. One minute they were calling it a game changer, the next it was canceled, just gone. That kind of public failure gets people wondering what Meghan and Harry are really bringing to the table. But it doesn't stop there. Meghan's push into the wellness and lifestyle world, her big New Era brand, apparently isn't hitting like she hoped. From what insiders are saying, it's struggling hard. The buzz just isn't there. The branding feels confusing, and the energy around it? Flat. Here's the wild part. These two built their entire image around authenticity, being real, truthful, living with integrity. That's been their mantra from day one. Every interview, every documentary, every book. They've sold that idea of honesty and vulnerability to the world. But now, the cracks are showing, and the timing couldn't be worse. With Bower's book landing, it's allegedly pulling the curtain back on a completely different side of them, one that challenges the entire authentic image they've worked so hard to sell. People are starting to ask the big question. Was any of it ever real, or was it all just carefully staged for the cameras? If people start thinking the whole thing was just an act, that's not just bad PR. That's their entire foundation cracking wide open. And the timing? Couldn't be worse. Their California ventures are already on shaky ground, public opinion has shifted hard, and that initial excitement over their big move to the States has completely cooled off. Now, right when they can least afford it, here comes a book dropping secrets they definitely didn't want out. Harry knows exactly how fast this can spiral. He's seen it happen before. One story breaks, then another, and before you know it, the headlines won't stop coming. Suddenly, every single move gets picked apart under a microscope, and that's the reality they're facing right now. Every interview, every appearance, every word is being re-examined through the lens of these new revelations. For someone who walked away from the royal family chasing peace and freedom, this must feel like déjà vu in the worst way. Instead of escaping the chaos, it's like they just traded one storm for another. And here's the twist. This time, there's no palace machinery to shield them, no royal PR team to clean things up. They're standing in the spotlight alone, with the pressure mounting. And if you think it's already messy, just wait. Because what Bower reportedly uncovered about Meghan's family situation takes things to a whole new level. This next part gets personal, emotional, and honestly, a little heartbreaking. For years, everyone's heard Meghan's version of what went down with her dad, Thomas Markle. The story's always been the same. He broke her trust, staged paparazzi photos, spoke to the press right before her royal wedding, and because of that betrayal, she cut him off completely. That's the version we've seen in interviews, documentaries, and glossy specials. It's the narrative the world knows by heart. But according to Tom Bower, that might not be the whole truth. He's digging deeper and asking the kind of tough questions that could flip the entire story upside down. Questions about how that father-daughter relationship really fell apart, and they don't exactly paint Meghan as the pure victim she's often portrayed herself to be. See? Shaping public perception is powerful. If you frame your story the right way, most people will buy it, no questions asked, even if it's only half the truth. Sources claim Meghan's been a master at this from early on, crafting narratives that work in her favor. And Bower's allegedly exposing that, showing how she might have molded the family drama to fit her public image. One insider reportedly put it like this: Meghan understood that framing was everything. If that meant tweaking details or spotlighting certain parts while leaving others out, that's what you do. That quote alone says a lot. Now, to be fair, no one's saying Thomas Markle was a perfect dad. He had his slip-ups too. But Bauer's reporting suggests that the version we've all been fed might not tell the whole story. And here's the real bombshell. He's hinting that the fallout between Meghan and her father might not have been nearly as one-sided as we were all led to believe. Maybe, just maybe, there were things happening on both sides that led to the fallout between Meghan and her dad. Nothing in life is ever that simple, right? And this matters a lot because Meghan has built a huge part of her public image around that family split. The story of being misunderstood, betrayed, and pushed aside by the very people who should have stood by her. It's a powerful angle. It pulls at hearts, makes people root for her, defend her, see her as the one who got hurt and unfairly treated. But here's the problem. If that story starts to crack, even a little, everything changes. If people begin to suspect that parts of it were exaggerated, reshaped, or even strategically framed, then what happens next? Suddenly, you're looking at someone whose entire public persona might be standing on shaky ground. A brand built on empathy and resilience could start to look like a carefully managed performance. And this isn't just about her dad. Bauer's reportedly diving into all of it. Her early Hollywood grind, her climb to fame, the royal era, and the global figure she became afterward. Everyone knows the surface story. The struggling actress who turned into a duchess, then rebranded herself as an international powerhouse. But now Bauer's asking the hard questions. How much of that journey was genuine, and how much was crafted with precision behind the scenes? Because here's the truth. Building a public persona takes serious planning. Strategy, timing, connections, and the perfect words at the perfect moment. And according to what's surfacing now, Meghan was brilliant at that game. Maybe too brilliant. The book hasn't even hit every shelf yet, and already the shockwaves are hitting hard. The narrative she's worked years to control might finally be slipping out of her hands. Social media has completely exploded. It's chaos out there. Thousands of comments, endless threads going viral, and people are digging deep into Meghan's past like detectives on a mission. They're not just scrolling casually anymore. They're rewatching every interview, every speech, every clip, analyzing each word with this new information in mind. And now, critics are pulling up old footage, comparing it side by side with what Tom Bauer's revealing. And the inconsistencies are starting to stack up fast. Timelines aren't matching, stories are shifting, and details seem to change depending on who's asking the questions. It's like a giant puzzle where the pieces don't quite fit anymore, and people are noticing, loudly. And here's the wild twist. It's not just the usual critics throwing shade. Even her former supporters, the die-hard fans who used to defend her in every online battle, are going quiet. Comment sections that once overflowed with love and loyalty are now filled with confusion and doubt. People are asking things like, wait, how much of this was real? Did she really live through that? Or was it just a polished version of the truth? That's a serious problem, because these were her biggest believers. They saw her as strong, relatable, and genuine, but now they're starting to question everything they once defended so passionately. And then, oh, you already know, the British press has jumped on this like hawks. The tabloids are having the time of their lives, flooding their front pages with screaming headlines about secrets revealed and the Duchess exposed. It's déjà vu of those early royal scandal days. But this time, it's not just gossip or wild speculation. The difference now is that there's detailed information backing these claims. And that's what makes this storm so much harder for Meghan to escape. The UK media has been waiting for a moment like this. And now that it's finally here, they're pouncing hard. Story after story, headline after headline, article after article. Every outlet is tearing into what Tom Bauer has uncovered and what it could mean for Meghan's reputation. And let's be real, they're not holding back at all. Every tiny detail is being dissected, debated, and blasted across screens. Every old quote, every appearance, every past statement. It's all getting pulled apart and examined like evidence in a courtroom. Meanwhile, behind those tall gates of the Montecito mansion, the vibe is reportedly tense. Really tense. Staff are walking on eggshells, careful not to set off another wave of chaos. The stress is thick in the air, the anxiety's visible, and the pressure, it's off the charts. PR teams are in full-blown crisis mode, phones buzzing nonstop, emergency meetings stacking up, and everyone scrambling to figure out what to do next. They're trying to control the narrative, spin the headlines, and soften the blow. But here's the harsh truth. When someone like Tom Bower drops a book packed with this level of detail, there's only so much damage control you can pull off before the story runs wild. And Meghan herself? Insiders say she's told close friends she feels completely under attack. With every new headline hitting harder than the last, she reportedly feels cornered, betrayed, exposed, and more vulnerable than she has in years. This isn't just tabloid noise anymore. This is real, researched, and specific. The kind of information that's making people question everything about her. The walls she built around her image, the story she spent years curating, and the control she's always fought so hard to keep. Her image is taking serious hits, and when you've spent years building the perfect version of yourself for the entire world to admire, having it all suddenly challenged has got to be terrifying. Once people start doubting even one part of your story, it's like dominoes falling. They start questioning everything. So, let's pull back the curtain for a second and take a look at what insiders say was really happening inside that Montecito mansion when the bombshell news began to spread. It wasn't pretty, at all. Picture this. Early morning light creeping through the windows, and Meghan's phone starts lighting up like a fireworks show. Notification after notification, message after message, texts, calls, alerts. Friends trying desperately to warn her about what was dropping. According to people close to the situation, the moment Meghan realized just how much Tom Bower had uncovered, she completely lost it. This wasn't mild frustration, this was full-blown panic. Within minutes, publicists and crisis managers were being called in, phones ringing off the hook, emergency meetings popping up in real time. Everyone was scrambling, trying to understand the scope of the situation and figure out how to contain it before it exploded even more. This wasn't the kind of story you could just brush off with a polished statement or a calm appearance. This was serious. Sources described the entire scene as total chaos, tension filling every corner of that mansion. One insider reportedly said Meghan was pacing back and forth, almost in tears, repeating over and over. How could he possibly know all that? She wasn't just angry, she was shaken, blindsided, and desperate to find out who had talked. She was absolutely stunned, shocked that Tom Bower had managed to dig up such personal, deeply detailed information. And here's what really shook her to the core. These weren't the kind of things you could just Google or pull from old magazine interviews. No, this was private, intimate stuff that could only come from people who actually knew her, people who'd once been part of her inner world. We're talking about folks she trusted, maybe even trusted deeply. And when that realization hit, it hit hard. Imagine realizing that someone from your tight circle, or maybe even more than one person, had opened up to a journalist and shared things you never wanted public. That's a different level of betrayal. Insiders described it like watching someone suddenly realize that the fortress they spent years building wasn't as unbreakable as they thought. All those walls, all that careful image management. Somehow, information was still slipping through the cracks. But Bower didn't stop at the surface. He went deeper. He pushed past the Hollywood years and the family drama, diving straight into parts of Meghan's life that hadn't been touched before. Her childhood stories, her education, her early career moves, everything was reportedly under his microscope. And what he uncovered? It's got people talking, questioning how accurate that polished, picture-perfect version of Meghan really is. Sources from her Northwestern days are allegedly saying that the Meghan they remember back then is worlds apart from the one the public sees today. And not just in terms of success or fame, but in personality, background, and the stories she shared about her early life. The image she presented of who she was and what she went through. According to Bower's findings, that might have been shaped and refined over time, piece by piece, until it fit the version of Meghan the world now knows. Apparently, there are some major differences between the version of events Meghan's shared publicly and what the people who were actually there remember. And that's where things get scary. Because if the foundation of your public image doesn't line up with reality, what happens when people start comparing notes? When old classmates, former coworkers, or early connections start speaking up and saying, "Wait, that's not how it really went?" Suddenly, details you thought were buried deep in the past come roaring back into the spotlight. For Meghan, that represents everything she's been trying to avoid. Losing control of her story, losing control of her image, and maybe worst of all, realizing that no matter how tightly you try to manage your narrative, The past always finds a way to catch up. And here's where things get seriously intense. Tom Bower's book doesn't read like something based purely on public records. No way! It's filled with too much insider-level detail, private conversations, off-the-record moments, stories from behind closed doors. The kind of stuff you can't just Google or pull from a magazine archive. That means someone talked, and probably more than one someone. That's what's got Meghan reportedly spiraling right now. The speculation about who cooperated with Bower is wild and spreading fast. Some think it might have been former palace staff or aides, people who allegedly felt burned during the royal years and wanted to tell their side of the story at last. Others are pointing fingers at old Hollywood connections, friends, co-workers, people she may have drifted away from once she hit it big. The entertainment world can be cutthroat like that. Loyalty fades fast when fame and resentment mix. But there's one theory that's got everyone buzzing louder than the rest. And if it turns out to be true, it could change the entire way people see Meghan's story forever. What if someone from Meghan's own family actually cooperated with Tom Bower? Just that possibility alone is enough to send shockwaves through anyone who's spent years controlling every detail of their public image. The idea that a family member, someone with access to the most personal, private parts of her life, might have talked, that's a nightmare scenario for Meghan. And when it comes to family, one name keeps popping up again and again: Thomas Markle, her dad. Now, to be clear, there's no official proof he actually spoke to Bower. But here's the thing. The level of detail in the book about family dynamics, personal conversations, and what really went down between them, it's making people ask serious questions. Because honestly, who else could possibly know all that? Who else would have those exact memories? Apparently, Meghan's been thinking the same thing. Insiders say she's been obsessing over it, making calls, asking pointed questions, trying to find out if her father was one of Bower's sources. Because if that's true, if her own father went to a journalist and shared family details, that's not just betrayal. That's something that cuts deep. But the story doesn't stop there. There's also Samantha, Meghan's half-sister, and she's been adding fuel to the fire. Around the time Bower's book dropped, Samantha was suddenly online posting cryptic messages, hinting that the truth always comes out, and thanking certain people for finally saying what she's been saying all along. You don't need to be a detective to connect those dots. Meanwhile, Meghan's reportedly spinning in circles trying to track down the leak, trying to figure out who said what, and in the middle of this family storm, someone else is getting dragged right into the chaos, whether they want to be or not. Harry, according to insiders, is completely torn right now. On one hand, he's furious and wants to protect Meghan at all costs. He's tired of seeing her attacked, tired of watching her name dragged through headlines again and again. But on the other hand, he's exhausted. Every few months it feels like another storm hits, another scandal, another book, another tell-all that pulls them right back into chaos. He left the UK chasing peace, hoping for a quiet California life filled with sunshine and normalcy, not a never-ending carousel of royal drama. But peace has been the one thing they haven't been able to find. Sources close to the couple say the atmosphere inside their Montecito home has been tense, sometimes even cold. The pressure is constant, the anxiety thick in the air, and the weight of public judgment just won't lift. When your past keeps getting dug up, when every story you've ever told is suddenly under a microscope, it starts to wear you down. And for Harry and Meghan, the emotional toll is real. The worst part? This might only be the beginning. Whispers are already spreading about more upcoming projects. New documentaries, journalists, and insiders all eager to dig deeper into Meghan's Hollywood roots and early life. It's like the floodgates have burst open. And now, everyone wants to share their version of who Meghan really is. For someone who spent years controlling every frame of her image, watching that carefully built world unravel piece by piece has to be devastating. The past she tried so hard to bury is clawing its way back into the spotlight. And this time, she can't hide from it. Here we are now. Everything Meghan's built, every carefully crafted detail of her story, is being torn apart and analyzed under harsh light. And the craziest part? When your whole brand, your entire public identity, is built around one specific image. Once that image starts to crack, there's almost no way to glue it back together. Those cracks in Meghan's image aren't just small. They're spreading fast, and they're becoming everything. People aren't questioning just one story or one decision anymore. They're questioning it all. Every interview about authenticity, every emotional speech, every carefully worded statement, it's all being looked at through a brand new lens now. Her reputation? Hanging by the thinnest thread imaginable. Think about it. She went from being one of the most celebrated figures in the world to standing in the middle of a storm. Someone who once had global influence, powerful platforms, high-end partnerships, and opportunities most people could only dream about. But now, those same speeches, those same titles, and that perfectly polished public image are being re-examined piece by piece. Everything that once looked inspiring is now under suspicion. And here's what really stands out. Meghan's biggest battle right now isn't with Tom Bower. It's not even with the British tabloids or the online critics picking apart her past. Her real fight is with something she can't manage, can't spin, can't reframe, and can't explain away. It's her past, or at least the version of her past that's now surfacing for the world to see. No matter how many PR teams she hires, no matter how many statements she releases, or interviews she gives, there's only so much anyone can do when the story behind your image doesn't match the reality people start uncovering. That past, she worked so hard to reshape, to edit, to fit into the perfect narrative, it's refusing to stay quiet. It's coming back piece by piece, story by story, detail by detail, and it's not asking permission. Maybe that's the thing about trying to control every part of your image. Sooner or later, something slips through the cracks. And once the truth starts leaking out, there's no putting it back in the box. So what happens next? Can Meghan bounce back from this? Can her brand survive this wave of exposure? Or are we witnessing the beginning of the end for the carefully crafted image she's spent years building? We're watching it all unfold in real time, and you won't want to miss what's coming next. Make sure to like, comment, and share your thoughts below. Don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you're the first to catch every new update. Trust me, this story's just getting started and you'll want to see what happens in the next video.